I've never really wanted to be just known as a professional athlete. I wanted to be honestly more known off the field than I was on the field. And a part of building that is going to take decade after decade after decade. And I'm in that process. And I still want that notoriety for doing what I did on the football field. But I don't want that to be the end all be all for me. No Free Lunch is presented by T-Rowe Price. The information provided on this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified financial and or legal professionals before making any legal or financial decisions or investments. What's up, everybody? A special episode today, obviously about my retirement. I decided to retire officially on July 12th, 2025. A very, very special day to me, but a very hard day as well. It was a year of my dad passing, which was not an easy year in this last year, not having him around, especially somebody I spoke to pretty much every single day of my life. And I take a lot of trials and tribulations from everything that he's gone through in his life, but also what he's taught me. Both him and my mom, two special people born in third world countries and came to the States to honestly give a better life to us, which was, to say the least, he did his job and more. So I'm excited to talk about this a little bit more and share kind of where my vision of my life is and where I want to go and spend time with my boys, but also some of the special things that I'm doing here on this podcast with No Free Lunch and more. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome my producer, Mr. Danny Sellers.
What's up, man? Happy to be here. And congrats, once again, beautiful career, man. A fan of yours from afar and been great to work with you. I'm curious, before we get into the business of Ndamukong Suh, did you know that last time you took off the shoulder pads, did you know that was going to be the last time or what was that thought process? I'm curious.
So definitely not.
Okay.
So the last time I wore shoulder pads was Super Bowl, and this was in Arizona. I was playing for the Philadelphia Eagles. And man, I thought we were going to win this championship. So it was planned to be my official retirement after that. And win that game and right off to the sunset. We were a half a game away from that. I went into halftime. It's like, guys, all we got to do is just finish up strong. I think we were like up by like 20 some odd points, but unfortunately, Magic Mahomes, all due credit to him, came back and had a great game. So give them kudos. But ultimately, as the next 2 years kind of went by, I had multiple offers from multiple different teams. I won't share which those ones are. Some of them were in the Super Bowl and should have made the decision to bring me in because I would have helped them on the D-line, in my personal opinion. And I've had some former coaches that really wanted me and knew that I could help and help the young guys, but also add value to the team. And then even most recently, were conversations with some of my old teams where I started to be able to end my career at those organizations. But ultimately, it wasn't the best fit, which is most important for me and my family. To be away from my twin boys and especially my wife for an extended period of time and gone all day and barely see them was not something I was willing to do unless it was the right situation. And so that didn't come to fruition. And really, it was more or less homage to my dad. Like I said, a year passing of him, and wanted to kind of send a message to him. And I know he's always watching from that perspective. And really, I was like, he asked me multiple times after that Super Bowl run with Philly to retire and say, man, you've done everything that you needed to do in this league. You've won one. I know you want to win another one, so your boys don't have to share that one ring. But I just want you to retire and spend time, and not only with himself, my older sister, my baby sisters, my kids. I got a lot of family, and we're really family oriented when it comes to spending time. And I mean, it's super important.
No, that's beautiful, and I think it's such a rare kind of situation where you can go out on your own terms, so to speak. Many
Yeah.
guys are the last people to realize it's over. So that's amazing. And
Yeah.
then with working with you on this show, a lot of times you've talked about how business, kind of getting into the business talk of it all, how
Yeah.
business helps keep you sharp on the
Yeah.
field and kind of take your mind off of the game, so to speak, at times. We're taking calls in the locker room and, on the way to training and stuff. When did that kind of happen, that realization? Was it like rookie year? Like, I need to figure out something off the field? Or was it second, third year? Like, when did that part of your routine happen?
To be honest with you, it really wasn't until, so I've been working on business really ever since I got into the league.
Okay.
And the reason that is because of primarily a mentor in Joe Moglia. And then as I got into the league and was able to, I met Warren Buffett my senior year when I was in college. He was honorary captain, and we connected that spring before I was drafted. So I started learning about business at an early age. And I had two great mentors from those guys, in Warren Buffett and Joe Moglia. And then I expanded and I got to Detroit, met Gary Schiffman of Sun Community, his great family friend and a business partner. And that was really my first investment, being able to get into real estate with him.
Okay.
And him showing me the ropes. I give him credit for one, spending so much time with me. He's got three other boys that are great humans that he has to spend time with, and he's a big family-oriented person as well. And so that's really kind of where I started getting into business. But I also knew that I needed to be very much so focused on football and my craft. And being a first round pick, there's a ton of pressure, but also just living up to that pressure. And I never looked at it as pressure, but it was just kind of a want to exceed that. And so as I got my team together, and I was fortunate enough, super lucky to meet my performance director, we've been together for the last 15 years, Keith D'Amelio, working with him and creating a program. So we would be up 5:36 in the morning, especially in the summers. And I remember it was one summer in 2012 where the now CEO of Nike, Elliot Hill, gave me an opportunity to intern underneath him. And I was like, all right, perfect. This is our situation. I can't be in the office until 9:00. And he's like,
Yeah.
oh, no problem. I get that. You got to train and do these different things. So worked with my schedule. Me and Keith would go on campus from 6 a.m. to about 8:30 in the morning. I got 30 minutes to shower, change, and my first meeting starts at 9. And so started to create that rhythm in that focus and that understanding of saying, hey, I can still play football at a very high level. I can train. I can do everything I need to do. But also let me start to expand my brain in the business world. And let me work under obviously one of the best people to ever do it at Nike. He started from the bottom, worked himself up to now being CEO of the entire company after a short stint of being away. And that process just evolved and evolved. So it went from being an intern at Nike to being an intern and sitting in meetings with Warren Buffett of Heinz deals. And then obviously going from there to Andreessen Horowitz and learning from those folks, General Atlantic, doing an internship there, related group with Stephen Ross. After I signed my deal with the Miami Dolphins, I asked him, say, I want to be there with you and I want to help you take this organization to the next level from a football perspective, but I also want to learn real estate from you as well, because you're considered one of the best developers, let alone in New York, let alone across the world. And so year after year, I'm internship after internship, externship after externship. I'm just growing and growing and growing and growing and gaining knowledge, but at the same time, still taking care of my business on the football field. And that's what I think ultimately kept me super sharp to have that rhythmic opportunities, because then when I got in season, guess what? I'm still doing those things. I'm taking care of football. It's now shifted to 8-9 hours of my day, but the other 3 to 4 hours or even weekends or whatever it may be, when I have more off time or bye weeks, I'm focusing on business.
I'm gonna get to how the different stops impacted your career, because I think that's a superpower that people don't talk about enough. Getting a chance to work with owners or business people in these different cities. But I'm curious if there's as you were kind of getting into this part of your life outside of sports, was there like a first like big check or investment you made that you were like nervous about? Like, this is a lot of money that it's for a good reason, but like, okay, this is a lot,
Yeah, I think my first truthfully big check that I wrote was a flop. And
Okay.
I was a mentor of mine in Gary Schiffman and said, like, I see the vision, I understand it, but you got to understand a lot of these things are come with timing. I put a check of $500,000 into it would be a concept very similar to Uninterrupted that LeBron has created.
Okay.
And it ended up being not a full waste and full loss because there were some other pieces that went into it and it was a great learning experience. But for lack of better words, I lost all 500,000 of those dollars.
Okay.
And it was into a media concept and something that was before its time. And I think that's where, when he was saying timing is everything, that's where I think mentors come into play is like they've seen things, they've done things, and they've had these experiences that you can learn from without having to take a loss. But I
Mm.
needed to also take that loss to be able to have that foresight to say, he said this to me, I didn't listen, and I reaped I reaped the not the benefit, the downfall of it.
The
So
loss. Yeah.
ultimately, sometimes you have to go through those losses to really let that imprint in your brain, but that's okay because yes, it's a lot of money, but it didn't end my career, it didn't end my life from that perspective. And it's something that it's a great learning lesson that I had. Have I made that mistake since? Absolutely not.
So going back to living in different cities, and you mentioned Mr. Ross. Was that ever a factor in which where you wanted to play, even like especially later in your career when you knew like this isn't a fit?
Let's be very clear. I wanted to stay in Detroit, but I
Mm,
needed to do what was best for my family. And they had the opportunity to match what I was going to be able to get in Detroit. I mean,
right.
in Miami, excuse me. They chose not to. That is what it is. It's a business decision. So I want that to be very, very clear. With that being the case and me realizing that, I didn't go to the highest bidder. I went to a bidder that I could, one, learn from in Stephen Ross, an
Mm,
organization that I felt that I could help and grow. And talking about learning from, I saw what he was able to build, and you could in the foresight of seeing like all the different things that Miami Dolphins as an individual, the Miami Open from a tennis perspective, the F1 pieces, like being able to see all of that. I've learned so many different things, and then be able to sit with some of the special people that are at the related offices and the connectivity there, and learning from them. And real estate's always been something close to my heart. One, because I love building things. I went to school for engineering to follow in my dad's footsteps, but also construction management is my heart. That's something that I want to be. I want to be soon to be a GC and pass that test to become one.
mm,
And so those are the different things that I saw that I wanted to do. And then furthermore, that was a Miami piece. I was there only for 3 years. Things happened. Unfortunately, the head coach at the time was not a fan of me, and I was definitely not a fan of him.
hmm
Uh, but I transplanted and went to LA. And one of the reasons I saw LA, not only from a football perspective, which we were again a half a game away from winning a Super Bowl, my first
Yeah.
Super Bowl in LA, with that team. But more importantly, I got to meet and connect with the Cronkies, who are one of the best sports investing organizations and families you could say out there right now. But then more importantly, I got to live 5 minutes from one of my closest mentors in Jay Brown. Um,
Okay.
and he's one of the co-founders of Rock Nation. And being able to be at his house and spend time with him and his family and learn so much, be in the office with him. I would leave practice, be in a car, get to his office, spend 2-3 hours with him, have dinner sometimes, and then get right back. I purposely stayed in the city of LA, even though we were out in Thousand Oaks. I was making that hour
Yeah.
drive every morning and then hour drive back into the city in the afternoon. Could be an hour and a half, depending on traffic and whatnot.
Yeah. I live
So
in LA.
like
Yeah.
that was the grind because I wanted to spend time with that mentor. And that year was amazing to me. And so same thing, vice versa, going to Tampa Bay, being able to connect with not only with that team from a football perspective, but there's so many opportunities in and around Tampa as well. But that's how I kind of looked at things, finding that combination of both. And then in Philly, I mean, there's so many smart people in and around it. Michael Michelson with KKR just texted me the other day and saying congrats on retirement, and we reconnected from our time there, and we've had amazing conversations when I was playing there, but also even thereafter.
Yeah, I think that's an underestimated part of free agency when you're a player of your stature is like not just the money, but the opportunity that comes with
Mhm.
the money, the football, the ball part of it, and even the business
Yep.
part of it. I think it's like all three of those things are important. When you're considering that, especially when you have a little bit of pull to be able to make that decision.
Yeah, I mean, I
Um,
think it's important for people to understand everything, yes, is about the sport, but also there's a ton of ancillary successful things that you can build off of it, and be advantageous for you as an individual.
Talk a lot about real estate. I feel like that's a lot of our conversations around that, but we have a lot of other dealing that you talk about that are interest. Was there like evolutions of Ndamukong's career that were like, this year I really dug my feet into real estate, and then this year I really dug my feet into franchising, and then media? Like, was there like ever eras, or was it all kind of like whatever of it was of interest to you?
I think there was evolutions, and I think they're in a multitude of spaces. So real
Okay.
estate's always been the core of who I am. But what I also believe is that real estate, a big proponent of successful real estate, especially on commercial side, can be hospitality. And I've had success in hospitality very, very early. There's a group in Nebraska that I was connected to, and I used to eat there as a kid all the time when I used to go up, or when I was still in college, drive up to Omaha for some special dinners. But the group is called Flagship Restaurant Group,
Okay.
and their concept was blue sushi. So super, super odd, a sushi concept in the middle of Nebraska, but amazing food to say the least. And so I invested and I told them, say, hey man, I think you guys are missing out on putting a blue sushi in Lincoln, Nebraska. It should be right near campus. And they're like, man, I don't know. We'll see. Let's look at it. And they took my advice and let me invest in it to get some exposure. And it's been an absolute unicorn, like one of the
Mm,
best ones for their locations that they've had. And they've got tons and tons of locations at this stage now. And what I was able to do to learn was not only learn the business of hospitality from them and how they manage, how they operate, how they communicate with investors and all these different particular pieces, but also be able to say, hey, I made that one investment and it's fed other locations for me to be a part of, which is super, super unique. And you always hear the horror stories of athletes and entertainers getting into the hospitality space, and it's one of the worst things to do. I've had amazing experiences. I was also had some trials and tribulations later on in life, but I knew and gained great knowledge from that experience. And so I've always seen real estate as one of those pieces saying that's kind of like the foundation of everything. And then you can
mm.
build on top of that. And then got really excited and learned from just connecting with different people and seeing different investments. And that's where I started to have the insight and want to get to know venture capitalist folks, whether it's Andreessen Horowitz to General Atlantic to Marcy Venture Partners, and through and through. And so now you're starting to look at companies to where then you can say, I can also add value to these companies in
Right.
certain ways, whether it's NIL or like connectivity, relationships, all these different particular pieces. And that was super interesting as well to myself, and started to dive into that as I got into probably my fourth or fifth year in the league. And a big person that kind of got me a little bit exposure into that space early on was Dan Gilbert. And he let
Mm.
me sit in his offices down in downtown Detroit. One, I got to see him say, all right, I own Quicken Loans.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
I love the city of Detroit because I'm born and raised in this area. Well, I'm going to bring that massive company and all its employees to restart this city. I'm going to be the biggest proponent of that. And then also, I'm going to build new companies and invest them. So whether that's StockX, that a lot of people know of,
Mm-hmm.
started in Detroit with him
Mm-hmm.
as a primary investor. So being able to see those different things, and that's part of that venture capitalist side of things, private equity side of things. Zenith helmets. I don't know how well they're doing now, but that was something that I was exposed to at an early age and directly correlated to sports. And so fatheads, like all those big posters that go up on kids' walls, started in Dan Gilbert's office in Detroit. So I got a lot of exposure and experience to be able to watch others create things, and that just got my wheels turning of things I wanted to be a part of.
One thing that stuck out what you just mentioned is the part of having the foundation. Like I think, you're a player, you're spending so much of your life being your time, even let alone your life, just being the best world-class athlete possible. And I think for other players, professional players, having that, this is my foundational piece that I know that I've spent the most time, then the evolution or evolving off of that, I think is like a really good tip that you just shared with us. Cause I think so many of us want to be wide instead of like deep into certain things. And I think that's kind of when you can get lost in the sauce a little bit. One thing that athletes I've heard in different podcasts or whatever is athletes saying, I was able to live off my endorsements and I saved all of my game checks. Was there ever any kind of methodology that you abided by when you were playing of like, I'm not even gonna touch this money. I'm gonna just live and invest off of this money or anything of that sort?
I think it's a simple concept, and it really kind of sits with the 50-30-20 rule, which is kind of basic when it comes to financial investing and in budgeting. But for me, because I came into such large checks and things of that nature, I wanted to put at least half my money away into savings, into building a nest egg, and then really kind of living off of 20%, and then finding a way to kind of invest 30%, whether that's in me building real estate with my dad and some special projects and things of that nature. And then also probably cutting that 30% in half and then building out, or going into venture in some like things that like true risk capital, from that perspective. And so that's kind of how I looked at my life from that perspective. And then, I had amazing endorsements, from a multitude of people. I mean, I've been with Nike for 15, 16 years now, sitting on the Jordan side, which is absolutely one of the best, and deals with Dick's Sporting Goods, like Sprint, like all these different things. There's great opportunities, Chrysler, but ultimately that money was great, but I also wanted to build things. And so that's where I kind of said, let me kind of pull back a little bit from some of those name, image, and likeness pieces as a professional, and let me actually go build some real businesses. So that's kind of where the development company came. And kind of building my own family office, not fully built out, but like starting kind of a small team that supports me, and being tied to a couple strong big banks, the Wells Fargos of the world, the JP Morgans of the world, the UBSs of the world. And so like having those relationships, to support me and leverage some of their back offices and their expertise was kind of how I started to build out some different things to help me go towards the long-term generational wealth. And then knowing my goal was always to play 10 years, and I was very fortunate enough to exceed that. But I knew it was going to end at some point in time, whether it was on my own terms or somebody else's terms. And I was fortunate enough it was on my own terms. But being able to say, hey, when I do retire, I can roll out to something that's going to keep me fulfilled and excited to wake up every single morning.
Yeah, to that point about building the team, I'm curious, what does Team Suh look like today? were there specific moments in which you knew you needed certain key players? Give us a little bit of behind the curtain of what that looks like.
Yeah, so I'm not going to give you all the secrets.
Okay.
And how I look at it, I've kind of modeled myself after a couple of my mentors, and a combination stealing bits and pieces. But I think really the first one is wife. First and foremost, like I've said it multiple times, her being on my side, being able to give me that raw opinion, sometimes things I don't want to hear, things I do want to hear, vice versa, allows me to be very successful and allowed me to be a championship, not only in sports, but off the field as well. Help me think through things, she's a big energy person. So she feels people's energy and is understanding like, this person's a little off to me, even though, because you kind of get that honeymoon excitement. Somebody says all the right words, all the right things. It's like, she's coming in from a whole different perspective, and female perspective as well is very, very in tune to those different things. So I would say my wife, then an EA, an executive assistant to keep me on my toes, having that busy schedule, planning things out, being able to execute on those different particular pieces. I'll give you this example. Like I was looking at the NWSL team here in Portland, the Portland Thorns. And so having a good relationship with Jerry Cardinale of Redbird Capital, I reached out to him and said, hey, I really want to look at this team. Will you build a team for me to go through the data room and be my representation for this, and we work hand in hand together. I'm not looking to be passive by any means, because I'd be putting in real dollars and setting up an SPV, but I need the experts. You guys live and breathe this every single day. We're going to put a performance together. We're going to comb through every single sentence, note, word, numbers, top to bottom. And so depending on what I'm going on, I'll go pick one of my experts in that field to help me, support me in that space.
I like that, because you using the work you did while you were playing, those internships, those relationships you built throughout the whole time, and you didn't just wait until this month to be like, all right, let me go figure out who I need to talk to. It's like those are real decade-long relationships that you can actually, build off of.
And just to be truthfully honest with you, man, retirement, and I've seen other people retire, is not easy. I mean, so anybody who's going through that right now, like just know it's not easy. Like it's a process. It takes time, and your identity, you feel like you lose it a little bit to some extent. And it's great to be celebrated, but also at the same time, I've never really wanted to be just known as a professional athlete. I wanted to be honestly more known off the field than I was on the field. And a part of building that is going to take decade after decade after decade. And I'm in that process, and I still want that notoriety for doing what I did on the football field, but I don't want that to be the end all be all for me.
Yeah, it's tough. I feel like I remember I played a little bit in college. Even friends that played in high school, our last game is like that emotion of like they're done. And then me, having my little 5 catches in my career is like, oh, I'm really done. Like it's a wrap. I'm a regular person now. It is. I can only imagine being at that level, the highest level. I'm telling you,
I could never fathom what it feels like. And I have a ton of credit for people who have gone through this and gone to do bigger and better things. But to be cut from a team, I've only been cut from one team.
Okay.
For my entire career. And I was still got lots of smoke for him on that. Because especially the way it went down, I got a lot of smoke for the people that cut me. But at the end of the day, to go through that process of being cut and then never having an opportunity ever again. So everybody in all 32 teams, all head coaches, all DCs, all OCs, all D-line coaches, all offensive lineman coaches, wide receivers, all the gamut say, no, we don't want you. We're good. We're going to move on to the next one. That's painful.
It's tough, especially at that level when you've been the best guy for more or less for 98% of your career. So you don't have no reason not to think that highly of yourself. Last couple of things. What's keeping Ndamukong excited today? What are the things? I know you're very structured. Is it time with the boys? Then you're taking calls. You're recording the podcast. Like what's the day-to-day stuff?
Man, the day-to-day stuff is working out. I'm in the process of cutting weight. About to get lean and mean so I can run around with my boys nonstop.
Receiver suit.
I don't know about receivers, but I'm never going to be that tiny. But as my boys call it, we have shooter gun fights with Nerf guns in our backyard. Honestly, I love taking them to construction sites. I love building stuff in the process of building a couple different projects from a real estate perspective. So I've been excavating quite a bit and having a lot of fun with that, especially being able to do that with my kids. But like you said, I mean, being able to no free lunch has been a ton of fun. It's been a lot of work. It's been almost a year and a half plus now. And now just seeing a lot of the success of it. So, I mean, kudos to not only you and Grace and the entire team, but for us to get Apple Podcasts of the Week, top performers on Spotify. Like, I mean, I appreciate the fans and subscribers of the early support and the continued support on that, because that was a big leap of faith. A lot of people know, I'm sure I am a massive introvert. So for me to be sitting here talking to you on a consistent basis is one, a lot of energy, but also two, a big step for myself as an individual. And I won't say I was afraid, but it was a little nerve-wracking, to be honest with you. And it's great to see that it was well received. And a lot of people have taken a huge liking to that. So that's been fun. I also work still in the NFL realms of things with Sky Sports. So I get to travel and be in and around games, whether it's in London, some here in the US. I'm excited to hopefully get to Dublin and as well as Berlin and some of the overseas games this year that is pegged on my schedule. So lots of fun stuff. But I mean, ultimately, I love the freedom to kind of map my own schedule. And when I want to take off time and just do nothing but family stuff, I kind of have the right to do that. And I can shift my schedules and I can be as busy as I want to. I can be as slow as I want to. So the flexibility is amazing.
I love it. Last thing, I stole this question from somebody. Let me know if you've heard it before.
Okay.
Biggest price you paid for a breakthrough?
The biggest price. I wonder who you stole that from.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you asking my own question. The biggest price that I've had to pay for. Honestly, I won't say I have any big price. I live with no regrets, and I think everything happens for a reason. I've learned a lot through the years, whether it's sports, business, and really from my parents and family. But I think if I had to pick a biggest I don't really have one. I mean, I live vicariously through experiences and the ability to just no regrets in life. Everything happens for a reason.
Beautiful. Well, once again, man, congrats on the career. It's been great working with you so far. Excited for the rest of the season of No Free Lunch. And I'm happy your audience gets a chance to learn a little bit more about you and what you got going on.
Yes, I'm happy to continue to open up a little bit more so you can see another side of me.
Cool.
Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to No Free Lunch, boss. It's time for the Confidently Curious question, where we ask questions that are one step ahead, sponsored by Piro, where they believe that asking better questions can lead to better outcomes. So my Confidently Curious question of the day is, what do you call an asset that can easily be converted to cash? A, solid, B, liquid, C, solvent. The answer is B, liquid. When I talk to my finance people, I tell them T+3. Give me my cash right now. It's time to go. I want to go buy a Hummer. I want to go buy this. I want to go buy that. Long story short, the liquid assets is saying I have an asset that is in my portfolio that I would like that cash from right now. So let's say Nike stock, Apple stock, Johnson & Johnson stock. I'm telling my advisor, say, T+3, give me my cash, baby. That's our Confidently Curious question for the week. Thanks to our sponsor, T. Rowe Price, for modeling the power of better questions in their approach to making better investment decisions. T. Rowe Price proudly sponsors No Free Lunch. The views expressed in this podcast are those of the podcast participants and do not necessarily reflect those of T. Rowe Price. Their sponsorship supports the platform and does not imply endorsement of specific content or perspectives. Like, comment, subscribe, whether it's Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.